Do you find it hard to communicate like this? Or even worse, like this? Or how about like this? Oh my gosh, all this stuff is exhausting. Masks, distance, Zoom boxes. Some people are hard enough to understand to begin with. That Kopischke guy talks way too fast. And you, you are so good looking that we get distracted and forget to pay attention to what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. You know who you are. Meaning is a struggle right now. This time of year, we focus more than at other times on meaning. And this year, with this titanic trio of pandemic, policing practices, and racism and activism, and a harrowing and way too long series of elections and election-related things, all of which have heightened our isolation and complicated relationships, meaning is increasingly essential. So, thank you to you for keeping relevant messages and thoughtful communication flowing. Thank you to Northern Sky and Peninsula Players, Midsummer's Music, TAP, Door Shakes, Door County Library, and many, many others for continuing to provide reflections on meaning and opportunities to ponder meaning. But meaning in our personal relationships, we're craving this so much. And it's really hard to do with what we've been talking about. So, what do? You know me, when I have a problem, I reach into my actor's toolbox. So, let's take a look at some of these elements. First, some general comments. One of the most important aspects of communicating in any circumstances successfully is good listening, of course, but not only when the other person is speaking, but also when you're speaking, especially when you're speaking. And I mean listening, not only hearing, but looking. Visual listening is an important part of this. Paying close attention to your conversation partner. Now, beginning acting students sometimes struggle with this. They are so concentrated on their lines, what they're supposed to say, and the subtleties of what they're supposed to be communicating. They forget to check with their scene partner to see if they are getting it. So we have to teach them something that happens unconsciously for them in their daily lives. You have to be keyed into your partner's reaction to what you're saying. If they seem to misunderstand or be unconvinced, or to be giving their attention to something else like their phone or their cat or something out the window, in acting, this is where we teach them that they have to change their tactics. For you, I would say, let's shake up something about your communication. More gesture, more vocal dynamics, something. Okay, so let's start with the mask. It muffles your voice, even distorts some of those lovely subtleties we throw into our vocal expression that hint at sarcasm, irony, flirtation, humor, and of course, it hides most of your face. So, if your voice is muffled, we usually compensate by raising our voices. We talk louder, but I am hearing from some people that they are losing their voices trying to talk through these things so much. So volume is part of the equation, but let's focus in on articulation, which may be even more important. Clarity. Activate your articulators, your lips, your tongue. Be precise about the placement of your tongue on your teeth, on the roof of your mouth. Slow down, something I always have to remind myself of. Carefully shape your mouth in creating clear sounds, and you won't have to rely on the volume as much. You do want to keep your volume up. So to prevent losing your voice, keep your throat relaxed. Take full breaths and project your voice out rather than keeping it in. Now, members of the choir have lots of instruction from Cindy to rely on, but just focusing on placing your voice forward rather than keeping it back in your throat will be a good start. Now, You also may want to discard some of your usual communication tools. Deadpan does not work so well when most of the face is covered, or sotto voce, whispering, and like kind of talking out of the corner of your mouth kind of thing we do sometimes. Be thoughtful about what expressive tools you are using. All right, so what about that hidden face? There's an oft-quoted study that has led people to say that only 7% of communication is verbal, and the rest is vocal elements, facial expressions, and body language. Now, let me be clear. It's not true. The people who quote it that way are using an inaccurate oversimplification of the research. It's not true, but it does call out vocal elements, facial expressions, body language, all really important. Physically, some of what Simon was doing in our silly little sketch. We communicate a lot with smiles, with frowns, with sneers, grimaces, and those same things that we are communicating in our tone of voice are often supported by facial expression. So how do we compensate for that when we've only got half the face to work with? Raise your eyebrows, bug out your eyes, do that one eyebrow thing that I can't really do. Knit your forehead. They say that you can tell a real smile from a fake one by whether the eyes are smiling. So you can smile with just your eyes. Try it. Don't worry about the rest of your face. And try smiling with your eyes. If you're like me, you'll start to kind of smile a little bit, even if you're not focusing on the lower part of your face. But you can communicate a smile with your eyes. And it might even make you feel happier as a byproduct. So when you are masked, put a little extra attention into the upper half of your face and how you are expressing yourself there. And don't be afraid to even get a little silly. We are striving for communication here. One good tip, pretend you are talking to a child. When we talk to a child, we exaggerate. We use more vocal inflection. We slow down. We use gesture and facial expression to underscore what we're saying. So use all of those extra tools so that when this stuff is taken away from you, you've got more to work with. And take it beyond just your head. Use your body. We normally underscore the points we are making with gestures, body language, movement, even dance. Most often, these movements are complementary to the points being made verbally. Sometimes they help point out maybe the most important parts of the speech we're delivering. Less often, our physicality is in opposition, indicating maybe sarcasm or some other dissonance with the words. But consciously use more of these gestures, even if it's like not a gesture full of meaning. It's creating some visual activity that's more interesting to watch. And remember that some of those gestures we use in person when we actually touch each other. Oh my God, remember touching each other? We obviously can't, but use air gestures. Like air kisses, and a lot of people do air hugs now. Come up with other air gestures. Do an air handshake or an air pat on the shoulder or an air clasp of the top of the hand. Whatever you feel like will communicate what you want to communicate. Don't worry if it's weird or silly. The goal is to communicate. And don't be afraid of going overboard. Here's another one. Pretend you are playing charades and you get to cheat by talking too, but because that part is hampered somewhat, you get to do all the charade stuff. Whatever it takes, communication is the goal. So hopefully all of that stuff is helpful to you with the masks and the distance. Let's talk about the Zoom box or Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, StreamYard, Discourse, Skype, FaceTime, whatever. We crave personal interaction so much that we use regular phone calls less these days because we want to see people, even if it's just through a screen. But for a lot of us, we're getting some brain freeze. I spent 9 hours on Zoom one day a couple weeks ago. It can really take a toll. So my first suggestion is to get up and move. Don't feel like you have to have your face close to the screen and seated all the time. We're not used to communicating while being fixed in one spot for a long time. Activate your body and get up. I deliver all of my class lectures standing, all my Q&As. My default position for all my meetings and calls is standing. You probably noticed by now, I'm standing for this. I only sit when I feel like I really need to. This keeps me better energized, allows me to use more gesture and body language. I get better breath when I'm standing. Here's another one. Take off your glasses if you can. So a lot of times our glasses will pick up reflection, and all of a sudden we can't see the eyes. And so, especially if we're masked, we're really closed off from people. But even if we're not, we're losing part of the communication that comes from the upper part of the body. So if you're able to do this without glasses, give that a try. Remind yourself to blink. My doctor told me actually that I was getting dry eyes, and he said, you're probably spending a lot of time in front of a screen. And when you're in front of a screen, you blink less often than you do in normal life. So remind yourself to blink. I'm reminding myself right now. Also, use the chat. If you're having trouble being understood or you want to make a quick little point without interrupting, almost all of these platforms have some kind of chat function that you can access, usually on the lower part of the screen, where you can type something in. Another one, feel free to turn off your camera at times. Get up, hydrate, stretch, walk around, take on or put off a sweater, whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. Don't apologize for taking care of yourself. It's okay to interrupt the flow of whatever's going on and to take your picture off for a little while in order to take care of yourself. All right, so let's summarize. Point number one, I talk too fast and you are very good looking. Number two, active listening. Really watch and listen to your conversation partner for how well they are receiving your message. When wearing a mask, articulate clearly, slow down, support a relaxed breath, and place your voice forward. Also use the visible part of your face more. Avoid subtle and low expression communication tools. Use gestures, body language. Pretend you're talking to a kid. Exaggerate. Use air gestures. Be weird and silly, or all right, be weirder and sillier. Pretend you're playing charades, except that you get to talk. Communicate at all costs. Move around when you are on a Zoom call. Stand for periods of time. Keep yourself moving. Take off your glasses if you can, and take care of yourself. Hydrate, blink, regulate your temperature, take breaks, stretch, whatever you need to do. We are all searching for meaning right now, and meaning in our personal relationships is a high priority. So whichever of these tools you think might help you to convey meaning at a distance, use them. I love you. I miss you. I appreciate all the sacrifices that you all are making. And I'm looking forward to talking too fast to you in person sometime soon. Be safe, be well, be creative, be silly and weird. Peace.